Hey everyone, in this video we're going to take a look at this 2021 Ford Ranger Tremor. This is another one that's going to be tough for me to give back. I really like the Ranger. It's probably my favorite midsize pickup. And the Tremor package, which is new for 2021, adds some additional off-road capability, I guess you could say. You can think of the Tremor as halfway between a Ranger FX4 and a full-blown Ranger Raptor. The Ranger Raptor is sold in this generation overseas, but I don't think we'll see a Ranger Raptor here in the United States until the Ranger here gets a full redesign, so not until the Ranger's next generation. So I've already reviewed a Ranger fairly recently, actually, so in this video we will focus on the Tremor package, which consists of things like upgraded shocks, more aggressive all-terrain tires, and a few other items. And then for the driving portion, I think we'll talk about a fun little adventure I took this thing on this weekend that actually provided some really interesting data when it comes to payload. The best way to tell if you're looking at a Ranger Tremor is by these red brackets in the grille. They kind of blend in on this one because it also has a red exterior, but regardless of color, any Ranger Tremor package comes with these red brackets in the grille. Also, while we're up here, you'll notice recovery points on this steel bumper. And then underneath here, there are a few different skid plates on the Tremor. The first is this steel one up front. The other skids are for, well, there's one here for the transfer case, and then a nice big one covering the gas tank as well. Tremor package comes with unique wheels, so these are 17s. They're finished in a dark gloss metallic color. The dimensions are slightly different with these wheels, not getting too far into the weeds, but they do give the vehicle a slightly wider track. And then the tires are general grabber all-terrains, and they're slightly more aggressive, as you can tell, than the tires that come on your everyday Ranger FX4. Behind these wheels are the shock absorbers, so they're a Fox design. You can see some Fox branding on them there. There are remote reservoirs in the rear, not up front, but around back here. Got Fox shocks with remote reservoirs. Kind of hard to see. Actually more of a piggyback style. You might just have to trust me, but they're right there. My finger's on them. They're right there. Moving down the side here, we've got these tube steps. Not my favorite. These are more likely to get in the way off-road, and then when you're getting out of the vehicle, if they're muddy, you're just gonna rub your pant leg on them every time. But luckily they can be removed pretty easily. Around back, here's your Tremor sticker on the rear flank. As far as the Tremor package goes on the exterior, that's about it. Like on every Ranger, you've got a nice big steel bed here. Tailgate is not damped, but you can rectify that via a pretty inexpensive aftermarket part. No power outlet in the bed. That is one drawback to the Ranger. You can get that in most other vehicles. It's convenient for running things like a little refrigerator, which is what I did this weekend, but unfortunately, no outlet option in the Ranger. Still though, steel bed is quite functional. Moving inside, not a lot of Tremor related items in the interior here, but it's pretty bright. You can probably see that right there. You get a Tremor embroidery in each of the front seats. It is outlined in silver, then red, then gray. And then the only other Tremor related item on the interior is this auxiliary switch bank. This I think is probably the same part that comes in the Raptor, the F-150 Raptor, and it's the same part that'll be offered in the new Bronco. But what it is a bank of pre-wired auxiliary switches. So this one says aux 1, aux 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are pre-wired in the engine bay, so if you were to hook up lights, a winch, maybe an air compressor under the hood, you could then wire those accessories to pre-wired wiring points in the engine bay and then operate them via these switches here. They are very satisfying to press. Anyway, beyond that, it's pretty much a basic Ranger four-wheel drive FX4 in here. So you've got 2 high as your default setting, 4 high, and then 4 low. This button activates your trail modes. There's a tow haul mode, really convenient. Here is your trail control mode. I think that's what Ford calls it, but basically off-road cruise control, and then a locking rear differential as well. Other than that, standard Ranger fare in here. These seat inserts are a little bit different, I should add. So they're leather with a suede insert and then another leather stripe going down the middle there. All-weather floor mats. It's convenient. Yeah, not much else to see. Altogether, the Ranger's interior is probably the least truck-like out of all the midsize trucks on the market. Quality is okay. Doesn't feel like it's gonna break, but it's not exactly luxurious in here. It's pretty Spartan, pretty utilitarian. But as far as features go, I mean, you get a tow haul mode, different trail modes, plenty of active safety tech. This thing has radar cruise control, which I was using this weekend, blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, which all trucks don't have. So this thing's pretty well kitted out with regard to off-road features and active safety tech. So it's one of the many things that give the Ranger a leg up in this segment. Okay, driving the Ranger Tremor. Like I mentioned, I really like this truck. This is probably what I would get if I were buying a vehicle in this segment. The powertrain is strong. It's a 2.3 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. It makes 270 horsepower, 310 pounds-feet of torque. It's paired with a 10-speed automatic transmission. It's quite competent. Relatively quick too, there's 50 miles per hour. So what I did want to discuss is a trip I took this weekend, the purpose of which was to test out real world payload usage when it comes to these midsize trucks. In the midsize truck segment, there's a pretty wide spread when it comes to payload capacities. The least capable vehicle happens to also be the most popular. That's the Toyota Tacoma in its crew cab, automatic transmission, TRD off-road form, which is the one I see around most commonly. It's rated for 1,155 pounds of payload, and that's pretty low given the rest of the segment. The Ranger here, on the other hand, is the segment leader when it comes to payload. A comparable Ranger four-wheel drive crew cab with the FX4 package is rated at 1,560 pounds of payload. So that's about 400 pounds more than the Tacoma TRD off-road. The Tremor model here, you lose 130 pounds of payload capacity. So this vehicle is rated at 1,430 pounds of payload capacity. And that number is key. So on my trip this weekend, I took 3 friends, all of our mountain bikes, and all of our camping gear on a little weekend trip to Fruita, Colorado, where we did some mountain biking. The purpose of that trip was to really test how quickly do you use up payload on a trip like that. When I think about recreational usage of these midsize trucks, one scenario that I can see using up a lot of payload has always been taking yourself, 3 other people, and 4 mountain bikes on some kind of trip. So doing that gave me an opportunity to test that theory. So what we did is we weighed everything before we loaded it into the truck. We could have just stopped at a weigh station, but I couldn't find one on the way that I was sure was going to be open and accessible. So instead, we just put my bathroom scale out on my driveway when we were loading up and weighed everything as we threw it into the truck. And it was actually pretty interesting. So certain things like my bike rack and bike combination, that weighed 204 pounds. The 4 of us, our average weight was 160 pounds. Now keep in mind, according to the CDC, the weight of the average American male is right around 200 pounds. So we're significantly lighter than the average person. So 3 of us or 4 of us piling into the cab of this vehicle is going to have a significantly lesser effect on payload than, say, your average 4 people. Anyway, on the trip, after doing all the calculations, we wound up with only 60 pounds to spare. Now keep in mind, 1,430 pounds of payload is actually pretty generous for this segment. So what that tells us is that many vehicles in this segment, like the Toyota Tacoma, the Nissan Frontier is another one, they wouldn't really be appropriate for a trip with 4 mountain bikes, 4 friends, and a bunch of camping gear. And I feel like the people who buy these trucks for recreational purposes, I mean, that's a fairly common trip to take. So I think that really serves to show that the Ranger here, and in fact the GM pickups as well, are slightly heavier duty midsize trucks than the Toyota Tacoma and the Nissan Frontier. Interesting enough though, the Honda Ridgeline can still haul 1,500 pounds. So the Ridgeline would have done just fine on this trip. The other midsize truck, the Jeep Gladiator in Rubicon in Mojave form, it too would have been over its limit given everything we brought with us. And we brought a very reasonable amount of stuff, I thought. Here's my speed bumps, by the way. So that was at about 30 miles per hour. Felt pretty good. These Fox shocks definitely do make the ride a little softer, a little bit more comfortable. But back to what I was saying, keep that in mind. If you're buying a midsize truck, payload matters. And you may think of it as this number that you're unlikely to ever exceed. I think people tend to think towing and payload capacity are so high that you really don't have to worry about it in day-to-day usage. But as my trip this weekend proved, that's really not the case. And if you're trying to get the most out of your midsize truck, I think it's important to prioritize payload capacity when shopping for a midsize truck. Backup camera's fine. Not the best, not the worst. All right, well, I could not have picked a worse time of day to film this, but anyway, you can hear me at least. That's our look at the 2021 Ford Ranger Tremor. This would probably be the midsize truck I would buy if I were in the market for one of these trucks. This thing offers pretty much everything. It may not have a power outlet in its bed, but it does come with just about all the active safety tech you could want. It's got 4-low, a locking rear diff, trail modes, tow haul mode, an off-road cruise control setting. This one has a pretty impressive suspension, and then on top of all that, it's got segment leading towing and payload capacity. So as far as all the mid-sized trucks on the market go, I think the Ranger offers the most complete package. This thing's pretty comfortable on a road trip. I drove it about 500 miles this week with 3 other people in the car, and none of us really had any complaints. Radar cruise control works nicely. You've got heated seats. Infotainment system is pretty good. There's really not a lot to criticize about the Ranger. I think Ford really hit the nail on the head when it came to designing this thing. So that is your look at the 2021 Ford Ranger Tremor. I hope you learned a little bit about payload capacities in the midsize truck segment, because not all midsize trucks are created equal. And yeah, thanks for watching. I have to jump in here because there's actually even more to this story. If you look at the sticker on the inside of a Tacoma's door jamb, let's take for example that TRD off-road model with an advertised payload capacity of 1,155 pounds. If you look on the sticker inside that truck's door jamb that tells you like tire pressures and weight capacities, it'll tell you that in fact that vehicle is really only rated to carry 950 pounds. I don't understand why or how Toyota can get away with advertising a payload capacity on its website that is 205 pounds more than the stated payload capacity inside the truck's door jamb. But what really matters here is that the Toyota Tacoma TRD Off-Road is only rated to carry 950 pounds, which is very, very little. The Ranger here, which again, for the Tremor, Ford advertises a payload capacity of 1,430 pounds. Look at the sticker inside the door jamb, and I don't know how well you can see that, but it says the combined weight of occupants and cargo should never exceed 1,431 pounds. So the Ranger actually gives you a pound here, whereas the Tacoma takes away 205 pounds. So in fact, the Ranger can haul 481 pounds more than a Toyota Tacoma. 481 pounds, that's huge.